Day 1065 of the Trump administration. The newly impeached 45th president is now in Florida for the Christmas break, and in an Air Force hangar prior to taking off. He and the First Lady employed home field advantage there at Andrews Air Force Base and attended an event designed to highlight his role as commander-in-chief to end the most turbulent week of his administration by any standard. As a military crowd looked on, he signed the National Defense Authorization Act. As the president flew south, new reporting tonight about an issue central in his impeachment, military aid to Ukraine. The Washington Post reports the Trump administration demanded that a portion of year-end spending legislation that referenced Ukraine be removed. Post reports it this way. Senior Trump administration officials in recent days threatened a presidential veto that could have led to a government shutdown if House Democrats refused to drop language requiring prompt release of future military aid for Ukraine. The report goes on to say the language ultimately was indeed left out of the spending package that was signed tonight. While that issue may be resolved, a standoff continues in the Capitol over a Senate trial for the president, who's now been impeached by the House. The Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, said the House is waiting to send those two impeachment articles to the Senate until there is clarity on the rules of the Senate trial. She wants to know if there are going to be witnesses, and of course she and the other Democrats are hoping that Republicans get pressured into calling witnesses, like one John Bolton. Today, the Speaker responded to these comments from Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
Speaker Pelosi suggested that House Democrats may be too afraid to even transmit their shoddy work product to the Senate.
Well, Speaker Pelosi told Politico, quote, "Fear is never a word used with me. You should know right away. I'm never afraid, and I'm really surprised." Meanwhile, White House counsel Pat Cipollone and White House Legislative Affairs Director there on the right, Eric Ueland, who was great in Groundhog Day, were on Capitol Hill today during a walkthrough to prepare for a Senate trial. The two also met with Majority Leader McConnell in his office. Just last week, McConnell said he was coordinating a Senate trial with the White House counsel. Indeed, he is. Today, the Majority Leader said he has no meeting scheduled with Cipollone over the Christmas break. Meanwhile, the New York Times has new reporting tonight on how the president has been handling impeachment. The Times reports that by Thursday morning, Trump was eager for information, watching TV for clues about what Pelosi might be up to. Quote, almost as soon as Pelosi said she might delay sending the articles of impeachment over to the Senate, Mr. Trump started surveying advisors about what it could mean. Why do you think she's doing that? He asked one person after another. The Times also reports before the president was impeached, quote, some of Mr. themselves that Speaker Nancy Pelosi did not have the votes and might not even bring the articles of impeachment to the floor, despite warnings from the White House Director of Legislative Affairs, Mr. Ueland, that the votes were there. When it comes to who the president has been listening to about Ukraine, the Washington Post reports that after speaking with Putin in July of 17 in Hamburg, Germany, including a meeting with no American interpreter present, just the other team, Trump grew more insistent that Ukraine had worked to defeat him in 2016. According to officials who spoke anonymously to the Post, quote, the president's intense resistance to the assessment of U.S. intelligence agencies that Russia indeed systematically interfered in our 2016 campaign, and the blame he cast instead on a rival country led many of his advisors to think that Putin himself helped spur the idea of Ukraine's culpability. One former senior White House official said Trump even said so explicitly at one point, saying he knew Ukraine was the real culprit because, quote, Putin told me. Post also says intelligence officials told lawmakers that Russian security services played a key role in spreading the false claim, the conspiracy theory that Ukraine meddled in our 2016 election somehow.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.